Kunos-created's Assetto Corsa EVO will soon be entering its version 0.3 early access state, with lots of new content, lots of updates and features, including one particular feature that I think everyone is very excited for. And we've been given the keys to try it all out. So as the door closes on my new Caterham Academy car, I have to say this is probably the most important update there's been so far, aside from the original launch, of course, of the game in early access, and it's been a bit of a tumultuous ride ever since. We'll start with the content, because that's pretty straightforward, and to be honest, there's a lot of it. We've got two new circuits. We've got Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, I'm driving right now. Very, very famous circuit, of course, that you all know and love, as is the Red Bull Ring in Austria, which also gets added to the game with this update, including the national layout as well, so you can do a shortened version of it. And then we have 9 new cars. 9 is a big number when it comes to sim racing titles in the modern day dropping new content. You very rarely see that many new cars in one go. These include 2 1990s Group A homologation specials, the Mercedes 190 EVO 2 and the BMW M3 E30. You also have a couple of modern powerful road cars in the shape of the Audi RS6 Avant and the Dallara Stradale. Then there's this Caterham Academy car that I'm driving right now, which is going to be a whole heap of fun. You also have 3 sort of purpose-built GT racing cars. You've got the BMW M4 GT3, you've got the Porsche 718 Cayman Club Sport GT4, and you also have the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. The 9th and final car is probably the most highly anticipated. It's the Ferrari F 2004. The reason it's so highly anticipated, aside from just being a legendary Formula 1 car, is also because it's the first single-seater to appear in Assetto Corsa EVO, and therefore it gives us a bit of a gauge as to what we can expect with single-seaters going forward. Aside from all the new content, we've got a host of other updates and tweaks as well. We've had changes to the physics and the way the suspension works, the force feedback, we've got new enhanced audio, there's also some changes to the way the AI cars behave, and a couple of new UI elements as well, which we'll look at in a little bit. The most important new update though, however, with version 0.3 is the introduction, finally, of multiplayer. And to see what's what, I'm going to go and pull Tom out of the cupboard and we're going to jump into an online session. So we're going to do all this multiplayer testing in open mode, because then we don't actually have to have the credits and buy all the cars. And Tom, what are we doing for our first session? Are we going to jump in the homologation specials?
Yeah, Mercedes 190E 2.5-16 to be more precise. Evolution 2 Cosworth something? Oh, I don't know. And then the Mercedes M3, the E30, the first generation, but the most evolved version, so Sport Evolution Evo 3. A lot of Evos in the Evo.
Yeah, and you can see here the server list. So we've got the server at the top. It says cars not eligible, because the last car I was driving was apparently the Ferrari F 2004. So we click on that, and then it actually just shows us the only cars that are eligible. So I'm going to jump, because I haven't driven it yet, into the BMW. I'm going to wait for Tom to come alongside, and we're going to have a bit of a scrap just to show you how the multiplayer actually looks in practice. Now, there's a few things we have to bear in mind here. This is a server with only 4 people in at the moment. It's just practice servers, it's just testing, so this is only for people that have access at the moment, of course. But it means that, although we are testing how multiplayer might look, we're not really giving it a proper test with servers full of people, with 16 cars on track, with everyone playing the game all over the world. So we've got to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but at least you're going to see what we're seeing as we try this today. And straight away you can see the movements of Tom's car there in front of me in this particular combo look pretty good out of the box.
Oh, apart from the driving.
I saw you have that moment, and then I had a bigger one behind you.
These cars might have been the pinnacle of homologation specials at the time, but tyre and suspension technology's moved on a long way since early 90s.
I've got good X. I think the BMW's got a bit more poke about it as well, so you'll see the slipstream. We'll see how close we can run to Tom here without any big contact. So, looking pretty smooth. Oh, I've made a bit of contact there. You saw a little bit of a jolt in the camera position.
I'm in the wrong gear, coming out the corner. It's not good.
I love that, obviously, these old road cars that AC Evo has, and in such good detail as well. I love that this is actually going to facilitate people racing these online, because there are so many games that are racing focused. Having the ability to race these road cars like this and have a proper scrap but run close to each other with simulation physics is obviously going to be a big selling point for many kind of car fans, let's say.
Yeah, the physics are still very much work in progress. They've made some significant improvements, according to Kunos, for this build. And the cars are... Well, these particular cars, you know, they're on road tyres. floppy old suspension, and that's how they drive. They're actually pigs, but in the best possible way, I would say.
Enjoyable pigs. Radar working pretty well. I can see Tom's alongside me. I can pull him behind. We'll show you a collision in a second when I try and put Tom into the wall. So that was a little bit of a weird touch there. Let's try and see what we can do. Didn't seem to unsettle too much. Oh, yeah, there you go. So there's your first look at online collision on Assetto Corsa EVO. Do you need a tow? Are you okay? Oh, he's fine. So we're going to jump in the Dallaras around the Red Bull Ring National to try those, but there you can actually see here that you've got different performance stats for different versions. So the track day version 20.8, and you've got the kind of, let's say, regular version, nothing regular about it, the Stradale Targa Coupe and the Barchetta Spider, both have 18.7, so different performance variations of the same model, which is good to see. Yeah, the rear of it really looks Carrera GT.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's weird, isn't it, how the car, when the game loads in, everything's black, and then...
You've just spawned on top of me, so I've both the
that's
cars
what's
are in the same
going on.
pit box. Yeah.
It looks really weird.
Oh, there's two drivers, two helmets.
Look, yeah, I can see both of our steering wheels.
Yeah, not ideal. Do you want to take off first, and I'll follow suit? Here we go. Okay, so clearly some small issues and glitches to work through. Now, I am going to say as we first drive this Dallara out of the pit lane, this is the first car I drove on version 0.3, and one of the big parts of this update was actually to do with the audio. Now, if you watched the keynote video that came out on 0.3, they talked about how the audio was more immersive, especially when it came to the actual driving experience, and I have to say, straight out of the box in the Dallara, now I know I'm not comparing it to the Dallara because it's a new car, but wow, the sounds really got me. They were fantastic. You can hear the crackle. As I accelerate here and change gear, just listen. That rumble, just the texture to it, it's lovely. And I'm not in any way an audio engineer or an expert, but immediately it put a smile on my face, essentially. As Tom puts a smile on my face by doing that.
Stylish pit entry, nothing to see here.
One other thing I noticed about the sound was just how good the reverberation is off the pit wall as well. I don't know if you can actually hear it here at Red Bull Ring. Sounds like you can just about, but on other tracks that I tried, there was a fantastic reverberation as you drove past the pit wall, which is, yeah, just fantastic. It's something that we already saw in previous Assetto Corsa titles, but yeah, important nonetheless. Obviously, as we're driving around here, you'll see a little bit more of the multiplayer and how it looks, and you've got the new Red Bull Ring National, but I do want to touch briefly on some of those other updates that come with 0.3, stuff like the force feedback, the physics, the tyre model. Now, tyre model, a lot of the updates that have been made are related to the temperature, the core temperature, and just the surface temperature as well. It's a little bit more sensitive, and it's more quick to heat up and cool down now, so you will actually see a larger grip variation at different points in the corner even. So if you're, for example, driving a road car with road tyres, they're going to overheat very quickly, especially if you're driving something heavy and powerful. And when that happens, you could find that as you go into a corner, you've got a lot of grip, you then overheat the tyre midway through, and suddenly you're losing grip on the exit. So it's good to see those kind of things being added. I've not really had a proper chance to do some back-to-back testing on the tyres and really feel all the differences. We've just jumped in and getting a feel for it here, but you can see there's a lot of changes and movement on the HUD in the bottom right here to the temperature across the tyre, and there are a lot more things that they can do in order... Oh, I've just done a Tom.
Hey!
Oh dear. What I was trying to say, there's still a long way to go on that front. They're still making changes in stages, let's say. So this is the next phase of the tyre model, but they're very much aware that there's more to be done. There's more parameters to sort. Because, I mean, tyres are a very complicated thing. There's carcass temperature, inner temperature, surface temperature, all these different types of temperatures, and all these different things that affect the temperature, whether it's sliding, locking up, the amount of speed you're carrying, the weight of the car, the power of the car. So it's complex, and it's being worked on. But at the moment, I'd say that's probably the biggest change on that front. Tom's done a Tom now. Wow, we're struggling this Dallara. It's got assists as well, Tom, by default. I'm running some assists, but it's not easy, is it?
That was... it's not easy, but that was... I clipped that big sausage on the inside. So, in any car, I think that would throw you off there. But I think let's touch on the force feedback, because you're using a Simicube wheel, right?
Yes, and it's been pretty good.
Things are going well for you.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. There was a few small things that I wasn't quite sure about, especially when driving the racing cars previously, but even with this update, something to do with the damping, and I've played around a little bit with the settings. I've got dynamic damping set to 100%. I tried it at 0%, thinking that would maybe help me, but it actually made things worse. There was just a slight strange feeling that I can't quite place at this early stage. But I did actually manage to eventually find some solid settings with dynamic damping at 100%, and I'm pretty happy with how it feels now. That is, of course, on a SimuCube 2 Pro, which is an expensive wheelbase with a lot of detail, and it's well optimized. However, Tom, I don't think you're having quite as much luck on the more entry-level things that you're trying at the moment.
One of my favourite sort of mid to entry-level wheelbases is the Thrustmaster T598. I think the force feedback feels fantastic in other games versus the cost of that device and the on-paper output. It punches above its weight, but there's zero in Assetto Corsa EVO still. So if you have a Thrustmaster wheel, this game is not for you at the minute. Hopefully that will be fixed as the game goes through early access, but the Kunos and the 505 Games and Digital Brothers, they did make a big thing in the most recent trailer for this update, because Assetto Corsa EVO updates have trailers, and they even showed like a Logitech gear-driven wheelbase being used in the video, and we've made a big effort of improving the force feedback. Well, I'm using one right now as we drive, and apart from on the entry curb on the left in the braking zone, the force feedback is, in my opinion, extremely benign, lackluster, quite empty. So it just doesn't help when you're trying to control. It's not too bad with the Dallara here, but a Formula 1 car or the older cars that move around a lot on softer suspension, it's very difficult to try and predict their body movements, because you just don't really get any sensations back through your palm of your hands, unfortunately, at the minute. And so that still really needs a massive improvement. Okay, if you've got a high-end steering wheel, most people don't. So that is a significant area that needs looking at.
Yeah, it's a shame because we thought it had been improved, and it feels like there's still a long way to go. So maybe it didn't need to be mentioned in quite so clear a way.
That's the thing. It's improved, okay, but it's still got a long way to go. So I don't think they need to tout about it quite as much as they do as I smash into the wall and destroy the Dallara. I'm
going to talk about that actually, because my ping's very high at the moment. It was a lot lower earlier, so I'm not sure why. I'm 220 odd, but I find that when the ping's quite high, the movements maybe become a little bit less natural, a little bit more simplified, let's say. So I've noticed that when I'm following Tom and in that Mercedes and BMW race earlier, the car looked very natural. It looked as if I was actually racing against another AI opponent, which is exactly what you want from online racing, obviously, for it to be so seamless. However, there you could see there was just, it seemed like I'm not quite getting everything of Tom's movements with the car. It looks like his car model is a bit simplified. It looks like it's floating around a little bit, and then when it touches the wall and things like that, you see part of the car kind of go behind the wall. You can't see it. All of these things. So that's not quite perfect yet, but obviously, there's only so much you can control over things like ping and internet. And see there again, Tom's car not quite moving naturally, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be an issue on my end.
Oh, it's really difficult when you're trying to judge network connections. To reiterate once again, there's only us two on the servers in the world right now, I think.
Lost it again.
John. There are definite elements for me as well, on a different internet connection in a different part of the world and different piece and specs, where I get this sort of simplified body movement when the car is losing traction, and I've seen that when we were recording and a different content creator was in the same lobby as us. That was happening for them, but most of the time it's okay. It does happen. Kind of reminiscent, not in this exaggerated way, but the first Project Cars had a similar thing sometimes, where the body movement was simplified online when someone else was moving. It's not as strong as that, it's just a merest hint, and that doesn't mean that the game is like that game. The handling is like that game, just this specific point.
Right, for our third and final combo of this little preview video, I'm going to jump in the Ferrari F 2004, which is, of course, the 2004 Ferrari F1 car that Michael Schumacher absolutely dominated the championship in. And this is an exciting one. We've got, ignore the fact that it says slick soft tyres, we've got grooved dry tyres, we've got traction control. This was the last season of that era anyway, where the cars had traction control. We had V10 engines, almost the last season of V10s. We had one more year after it. So it's a very enjoyable car in theory. I mean, just listen to the engine. Screaming down the Kemmel Straight at Spa in an F2004. This is what a lot of people crave when it comes to sim racing. try and get some heat into these tyres. Now, obviously, I haven't really spoken much about the new content yet. And the tracks, Red Bull Ring and Spa, I mean, there's not much to be said for them, really. They seem like good, solid versions of those two tracks. But, I mean, these tracks are being added to every single racing game and sim racing title all of the time. So we're constantly getting new updated versions of the tracks. They're both laser scanned, so they've got all the bumps, they've got all the curb details, and visually they do look pretty spectacular. I've noticed a couple of funny things on the outside of the circuit trying to add atmosphere. In fact, you, Tom, pointed out the inflatable, what would you even call them?
Yeah, what are the inflatable wavy people with waggly arms all about? This game puts them at every other apex, it seems, on the outside of every corner. Donington, I think there's 3 on the way down the Crane of Curves. You never see them in real life, but anyway, I suppose it's extra atmosphere.
Yeah, I guess. It definitely looks good. This server's at like 6 PM at the moment, so it's getting a bit dark over the Ardennes, but it looks very, very good. And I honestly don't have much to add about the tracks. We know the tracks so well, and these are good versions, so it's really nice to see a new, modern, updated Spa in an Assetto title, of course, because it's been a while since the ACC Spa version was created. And it reflects the more modern layouts, because there have been some changes since then, of course. Oh, listen, now that's the pit wall sound I was talking about. Incredible. So flat out past the pit wall, V10 sounding great. You can hear the traction control when it kicks in. There it is. You've got that kind of grunt, or that I guess it's like a kind of graining sound that I absolutely love. Don't know where Tom is. Tom, are you on circuit? Oh, he's 6 seconds back.
I'm trying. Yeah, no, there's really no force feedback on this car and this wheel combination at all. So that's a bit of a shame. That hopefully things can be improved. It could be within myriad of settings. I must say that I still think the user interface and the settings options are still unnecessarily complicated and complex. I understand wanting to try and get every possible setting, especially for a hardcore PC sim racer, but I think there's localizations issues on the menus that don't make sense. How to map look behind is like 77th on the list. It's like, come on, logical things that people need. So really work to do there. Car sounds epic though. Car drives well. With you on that one.
You may have noticed as well down the bottom left, you've got this new sort of HUD element which tells us the gaps. Now obviously we're in an online session right now, which is new as Tom goes flying past, but you can see there it's not quite perfect. When Tom overtook me there, it took a long time for the counter to realise he was in front of me and for the gap to appear instead of just switching. But it's basically showing a live delta to the nearest tenth of where the car is on track. So right now he's 3/10 ahead of me and you can see him in front of me. So that all seems, I mean, it's good to have, but obviously still a work in progress. I think you probably want to know at this stage when you're going to be able to try this for yourselves. And honestly, it's not that simple. Although this game is in early access, and you may well have access to it already, to the existing content, this particular update is being done a little bit differently. You actually have to sign up to a free open beta, and you can do that by heading over to the Assetto Corsa website, going to the news tab, and signing up to their newsletter. If you do that, you should receive an email, hopefully, goodness knows when, hopefully immediately, but maybe not, maybe within a couple of days, with information on how to actually access the beta for this particular title for version 0.3. And then, once you've done that, you should be able to try out the online servers, you should be able to try out the 9 new cars and the 2 new tracks, the updated physics, force feedback sounds and everything. It's going to be another week or so, though, until everybody gets this. And that's assuming everything goes well. So it could be that you're waiting more than a week, maybe even a month, who knows, for everybody to be able to access this, unless you're part of that free to join beta. So slightly complicated. Hopefully that makes sense. And I think even, Tom, once you get that content, in terms of actually getting into online races and stuff, it's still not that simple.
Yeah, it's still going to be a phased approach by the sound of things. So there'll be a server list, and it'll be Kunos, the developer of this game, curated weather, time of day, laps and car combinations. So you'll be able to join from a list, but you won't be able to necessarily create a room or a lobby or a server yourself. Then, quote-unquote, a few weeks after that, a website will be launched, a portal, where you'll be able to hire a server. And then from there, you'll be able to spend money, claim a server, set the settings as you wish for, we believe it's payment on a monthly basis. So, hypothetically, for a month, you could pay for rent a server, and then it's roughly, that's what they say, excluding VAT, €1 per slot being per person. So if you want to think of it like, okay, I'm going to race with 16 friends in a league, then you have to rent the 16 slots. At roughly €1 a slot. Now, that doesn't mean your sort of, let's say, daily races or ranked racing is part of this in any way. That is scheduled for 0.4, or the 4th major update of Assetto Corsa EVO, and we don't know when that will be. They've showed briefly shots of an online portal, so again, a website. You set up a race on, or you find a daily race on there, then you have to, by the looks of things, initially copy a code into the game. So it's not as seamless as, let's say, Le Mans Ultimate, where you've got the race control system inbuilt into the game, and you find a daily race, and you click through, and you don't have to leave the game to a website to copy a code in. But hopefully that's an early version of the daily races. Anyway, I've completely lost it as well.
I mean, it's a little bit complicated and a bit uncertain at this stage, really.
Yeah,
I think
it's
going to be.
I thought, sorry, John. I thought it was going to be like a simple rollout of 0.3 updates here for those who own the game in early access, and you could play online, which is kind of what it was portrayed as. But the actual details on that is you have to sign up to a newsletter. It's technically an open beta first. We don't know when it's going to exit open beta. The renting of the servers is going to be later again at a separate date, and then ranked races are much further down the line.
Yeah, exactly. So at least you are going to be able to join public lobbies and have races, but it's going to be a bit more difficult to customize, a bit more difficult to have private races, and of course the ranking system's still potentially a long way away. So it's not that straightforward. I want to hear what you think in the comments below, whether you agree with what you hear about the pricing strategy. Basically just, let us know your thoughts as always. We're going to have to see what happens as well when you get into races with 16 people. Of course, maximum of 16 is not amazing, but it's enough to have a really good race. So yeah, I'm intrigued to try some organised races and see how we get on. And I'm sure you watching this are as well. So that's pretty much going to be it for this 0.3 update video. Obviously, subscribe to the Traxion channel to catch more updates as and when they happen on Assetto Corsa EVO, and keep an eye on the TraxionGG website on a daily basis, because we will have you covered with all of the latest news and, of course, interviews with developers, features, reviews, all that kind of stuff. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.
I've ruined your engine there.
Oh, no, I've ruined it for myself, and he's on his roof. That's staying in.